They'll threat talking about y'all this and y'all that, man. All that Jesus Gucci, man. Who rocking with them? Bitch on Stag game, bitching this up. Bitching this up.
Smoking on Pookie Load tonight.
I tell you what, this how we gonna do this.
Send some more, I'ma send them the same way. In a box back to you.
Are you doing
Free kill. Free kill.
Man. I tell you what though.
Memphis has always been a city where pressure, talent, and violence exist side by side, and while Pooh Shiesty often gets the spotlight as one of the most ruthless voices to come out of the city, his childhood friend Big 30 has a story that's just as intense. This is a closer look at the criminal history and career of Choppa Gang's general, Big 30. A figure many in Memphis quietly view as one of the most dangerous to ever turn street credibility into rap momentum. Memphis has produced legendary names in hip-hop for decades. From pioneers like 3 6 Mafia and 8 Ball and MJG, to later stars like Yo Gotti and Young Dolph, more recently.
On Stag game, CTE, 1017. Hey, matter of fact, catch me at Big 30 tonight. I'm snatching him out of the stage, myself personally. Hey, you talking about? Snatching him out of the stage, myself personally.
Artists such as Key Glock, Moneybagg Yo, Pooh Shiesty, and Big 30 have carried that legacy forward. But what fuels a lot of that music isn't image or marketing. It's the reality of growing up in low-income neighborhoods where survival comes before success, and where the streets shape you long before the industry ever notices your name. Both Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 came up together on the south side of Memphis, raised in the same environment and exposed to the same pressures early on. As kids, they didn't just grow up around the streets, they were absorbed by them. Long before music deals and viral tracks, they were already building reputations in their neighborhoods. Together, they would later take the industry by storm with a raw sound that felt unfiltered and authentic. But that authenticity came from a place most people never escape. Before Big 30 ever broke into the music industry.
Pooh Shiesty, look at this. He just got in the game. He already jumping out the car, robbing and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Allegedly.
Yeah, whatever. But that was that. We saw that, you know what I'm saying? Legend my ass. But Pooh Shiesty, that's my young, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, he did it. It was him, you know.
Crunchy Black was just trying to keep it real. But because it's an open case, it's not a good look for other rappers to be saying that he did it.
He was already known in Memphis for leading Choppa Gang, a local crew that formed when they were still young. Big 30 had a reputation early. He was kicked out of school multiple times for disruptive behavior before even reaching high school. Eventually, he was sent to an alternative school, but the change of setting didn't change his direction. Trouble followed him, and discipline never stuck. Around that same time, he reconnected more closely with his childhood friend, Pooh Shiesty, who was heading down the same path. Together, they started moving heavily in the streets, along with friends like Lil Hank and Choppa Wop. They officially formed Choppa Gang. What started as a tight circle of kids from the same area quickly grew into one of the most respected neighborhood crews in South Memphis.
6. Lontrell Williams, also known as rapper Pooh Shiesty, will remain in jail for now. Williams was arrested for an incident at a South Florida gentleman's club where he's accused of shooting a security guard.
As time passed, Big 30 rose through the ranks and became known as one of the most feared shooters in the area. Even his name reflected that image, referencing his preferred weapon and reinforcing the reputation he was building. Choppa Gang continued to grow in numbers and influence, gaining recognition and respect across the city. By the time people outside Memphis started hearing the name, the movement was already established. With their city behind them and their names ringing locally, Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 eventually made a calculated decision. Instead of staying fully locked into street life, they started stepping into the booth. Inspired by artists like Kodak Black and Chief Keef, they saw music as a possible way out. They began recording tracks that reflected their reality, rapping about the struggles, violence, and pressure of coming up in Memphis.
Smoking on Pookie Load tonight.
I tell you what, this how we gonna do this.
Send some more, I'ma send them the same way. In a box back to you.
Are you doing
Free kill. Free kill.
Man. I tell you what though.
But early on, music wasn't paying the bills, and while they chased careers in rap, the streets were still funding their dreams. That double life would eventually catch up to Big 30. That double life didn't. T last long before it caught up to Big 30. In January of 2018, his street activity finally turned into real legal consequences. Big 30 was arrested in Memphis on charges of reckless endangerment and unlawful possession of a weapon. He wasn't alone either. A friend named Marcus Walker was arrested alongside him after police responded to reports of gunfire inside a residential building. According to police reports, the situation was serious.
They're threat talking about y'all this and y'all that, man. All that Jesus, Butcher, man. Who rocking with them? It's on Stag game, in this up. In this up.
Investigators allege that shots were fired inside their own apartment building and that the bullets traveled through at least 3 separate units. This wasn't an isolated incident in an empty space. Neighbors were present. Families were nearby. One resident told officers that the bullets missed him by only a few feet and that someone could have easily been killed. People close to Big 30 tried to downplay the situation, claiming they were just playing around with the guns and weren't intentionally shooting at anyone. But law enforcement didn't see it that way. With rounds traveling through multiple apartments, police had no choice but to treat it as a major threat to public safety. Big 30 and his associate were taken into custody and charged accordingly. Despite how serious the situation looked on paper, Big 30 didn't stay locked up for long. After his release, he wasted no time getting back to music. In 2018, he dropped his debut track Breaking News, teaming up with Pooh Shiesty, Choppa T, and other members of Choppa Gang. The song started circulating locally and helped build momentum around their names. One release led to another, and soon Big 30 was dropping singles that caught real attention in Memphis. Tracks like Hell Night and Choppa Talk began spreading fast, especially online. The energy was raw and unapologetic, and people could tell it wasn't manufactured. The buzz reached beyond their immediate circle, and collaborations with other Memphis artists like Black Youngsta and Moneybagg Yo helped push Big 30 further into the spotlight. That connection with Moneybagg Yo turned into something bigger. Big 30 ended up linking with him through family ties, meeting Moneybagg through his cousin, who already had a relationship with him from the neighborhood. The connection felt natural. What started as mutual respect turned into opportunity, and before long, Big 30 signed with Moneybagg Yo under CMG, Yo Gotti's label. That move gave Big 30 access to real industry infrastructure. Professional studios, marketing, mentorship. It was the type of backing most street rappers never get. At the same time, Pooh Shiesty was building his own momentum, forming his own relationships in the industry. Even after Big 30 signed to CMG, the two continued working together, keeping their day one fans satisfied and their sound consistent. In April of 2020, Pooh Shiesty secured his own deal with Gucci Mane's 1017 label. That moment officially put Choppa Gang on the national radar. Instead of competing with each other, their strategy worked because they moved in parallel. Each artist carved out his own lane, leaned on different mentors, and still supported one another behind the scenes. For a moment, everything looked aligned. Big 30 and Pooh Shiesty were both rising, representing Memphis on a larger stage, and turning street credibility into mainstream attention. But just as things were peaking, trouble found Big 30 again. In late 2020, he was arrested on drug and firearm charges in Alabama. After searching the vehicle, police reported finding $17,000 in cash, a loaded Glock .40 handgun, promethazine, codeine, and marijuana packaged for individual sale. Foster was only charged with misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Big 30, however, faced much heavier consequences due to his prior record and alleged gang affiliation. Along with pending charges in Tennessee, he was charged with felony possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, and unlawful possession of a firearm. Once again, his freedom was on the line. But just like before, Big 30 didn't stay locked up long, was released in under a week, and almost immediately turned the situation into momentum. He dropped a first day out freestyle that quickly went viral, pulling in millions of views and making one thing clear. Despite the arrests, the pressure, and the legal problems, Big 30 was still standing, still rapping, and still very much part of the conversation. Even as Big 30 was gaining industry support, the attention didn't come without complications. The more visible he became, the more eyes were on his moves, and that included people looking for problems as much as opportunities. By mid-2020, cracks started showing, not just in the streets, but within the industry itself. One of the most unexpected moments came when Big 30 briefly found himself in tension with Gucci Mane, the same figure who had just signed his closest collaborator. In June of 2020, Big 30 posted a photo on Instagram showing himself alongside Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane at what appeared to be a music video shoot by a pool. The caption read 375 1017ths, signaling unity between camps. Pooh Shiesty commented with big 3 COs and heart emojis, clearly proud of the moment. But Gucci's response was different. He replied publicly, telling Big 30 to stop posting him and saying they had only met once. That comment shifted the tone immediately. For someone like Big 30, who grew up idolizing artists like Gucci Mane, the response came off dismissive. Instead of addressing it directly, Big 30 did what many street-rooted artists do. He posted a cryptic message of his own, flexing a large stack of cash and writing a caption that implied someone was mad because they couldn't T-sign him. He never said Gucci's name, but the timing made the message clear to anyone paying attention. At the time, Big 30 was already signed to Moneybagg Yo under CMG. And when Pooh Shiesty locked in his deal with 1017, it's believed Gucci wanted both of them. Big 30 staying loyal to his contract may have caused friction. From the outside, it looked like a sudden shift, where someone who once seemed respected was now being brushed off as just another fan. The situation could have spiraled, but it didn't. Not long after, Gucci cooled things down. He posted a photo of Big 30 on his own Instagram, writing that he still messed with him and still wanted to sign him. Just like that, the tension was neutralized. The moment passed as quickly as it appeared. Later, Gucci and Big 30 would even collaborate on a track, Shastrisk T Crazy, confirming publicly that whatever issues existed had been resolved. It was a reminder of how fast things can flare up, and how fast they can be shut down when egos settle. But that calm didn't last long across the culture. In November of 2020, Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy faced off in one of the most anticipated versus battles in hip-hop history. While the event stayed mostly respectful, old wounds were reopened. At one point, Gucci referenced Pookie Loc, a figure tied to a deadly chapter in his long-running beef with Jeezy. Years earlier, Jeezy had sent Pookie Loc to kill Gucci. Instead, Gucci shot and killed him and later beat the murder charge on self-defense. During the versus, Gucci made it clear that history wasn't forgotten. That moment sent shockwaves through the culture. Shortly after, Pookie Loc's son posted a video responding angrily, taking shots not just at Gucci, but at anyone connected to 1017. That included Big 30. He went as far as claiming he had snatched Big 30's chain and robbed him at a show, though those claims were never confirmed. Big 30 responded in his own way. He reposted the video and added a caption that read like a threat rather than a rebuttal, saying he would answer your prayers and that the son ain't he gone? Nah, miss daddy no more? The response escalated the situation instantly. What started as industry drama was now brushing up against real street consequences. Around that same period, Big 30 found himself pulled into another conflict, this time with fellow Memphis rapper Finesse 2 Times. Choppa Gang and Finesse 2 Times had history. According to Finesse, he and Pooh Shiesty were once cool, but he claimed Shiesty had done things that made him untrustworthy, like taking something and then helping look for it. Subtle shots had been exchanged for a while, but things turned serious when Big 30 crossed a line. In a song snippet posted online, Big 30 referenced Finesse 2 Times deceased associate Lil Marcus. The bar compared survival and loss in a way that many saw as direct disrespect. Big 30 added to the tension by posting content that implied Finesse's circle was moving with opposition. When Finesse heard the snippet, he didn't take it lightly. He reposted it, issuing threats and saying that if he caught Big 30, he was going for a kill shot. That situation could have ended violently, but it was interrupted by the system. Before anything could happen, Finesse 2 Times was sentenced to 5 years in prison for a weapons charge stemming from a 2017 nightclub shootout in Arkansas. With him locked up, the immediate threat faded, and Big 30 avoided direct retaliation. Still, the pattern was becoming clear. As his profile grew, so did the conflicts tied to his name. By this point, Big 30 was standing almost alone. Pooh Shiesty was later locked up on serious charges in Florida. Choppa Gang co-founder Lil Hank would eventually be arrested for attempted murder. Others around him were facing long sentences or serious legal trouble. Big 30 remained free, still active, still loud, and still surrounded by pressure from every angle. The question was no longer whether trouble would come again, but when and from where. By the time all of that unfolded, Big 30 was starting to look like the last man standing from the original Choppa gang circle who was still free and active. Pooh Shiesty was behind bars dealing with serious cases tied to 2 separate shootings in Florida, facing the possibility of significant time. Not long after, Choppa gang co-founder Lil Hank was arrested on attempted murder charges. According to reports, Lil Hank allegedly opened fire on a red Infiniti, believing it belonged to one of his enemies, only to later learn it was the wrong person. The victim survived, but was left paralyzed. To make matters worse, Lil Hank was already out on bond for another attempted murder case involving an alleged assault and carjacking that had been caught on camera. His chances of freedom narrowed quickly. With so many around him locked up or facing long sentences, Big 30's position became even more complicated. Being free didn't mean he was safe. It meant more eyes, more pressure, and more responsibility. Instead of laying low, Big 30 continued to speak boldly, both in his music and online, showing no interest in dialing anything back. In mid-2021, he took another controversial step by sending a direct shot at rap veteran Young Jeezy. On July 16th, Big 30 released a track where he mocked Jeezy's performance during the Versus battle with Gucci Mane. In the song, he referenced Jeezy by name and suggested he was soft for not responding after Gucci brought up Pookie Loc. For an artist still considered up-and-coming, calling out a respected veteran like Jeezy was a risky move, but Big 30 seemed unbothered. It's almost as if he was intentionally following the same unapologetic approach Gucci had built his career on. That wasn't the end of it. Not long after, Big 30 found himself in another public clash, this time with a Memphis legend. In late July, Crunchy Black of 3-6 Mafia sat down for an interview where the conversation shifted to Pooh Shiesty's legal situation. While discussing the Bay Harbor Islands case, Crunchy Black openly stated that he believed Shiesty was guilty. Brushing off the word allegedly and speaking as if the facts were already settled, the clip spread fast. It didn't sit well with Big 30. From his perspective, his closest friend was fighting for his freedom. Public comments like that only added fuel to a fire that didn't need it. Big 30 responded in the comments, dismissing Crunchy Black as irrelevant and accusing him of talking without meaning. The tone was aggressive, direct, and clear. Even though Crunchy Black is a respected figure in hip-hop history, Big 30 made it known that he wouldn't tolerate public disrespect toward his people, especially while an open case was still pending. From Big 30's point of view, the issue wasn't about evidence or opinions. It was about timing and loyalty. Even if comments like that couldn't be used in court, they still shaped public perception. And perception matters when someone's life and future are on the line. Around that same time, Big 30 reinforced his stance through music, making it clear that no one, not even rap veterans, would get a pass if they spoke out of line about his circle. All of this added to a growing image. Big 30 wasn't just a rapper with street credibility. He was becoming known as someone willing to challenge anyone, regardless of status, if he felt disrespected. That raw energy is part of what makes Memphis such a powerful city in hip-hop. But it's also the same energy that has historically led to serious consequences when it ICE controlled. By this point, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Every time Big 30 gained momentum, another conflict followed. Industry tension, street beef, legal pressure. It all seemed to move in cycles. And with so many of his close associates either incarcerated or facing life-altering cases, the question surrounding Big 30 wasn't about talent or work ethic anymore. It was about whether he could stay focused on music long enough to avoid becoming another cautionary story from the same streets that raised him. At this point, Big 30's story starts to feel like a crossroads that Memphis has seen too many times before. On one side, there's momentum, talent, and a real opportunity to build something lasting through music. On the other, there's constant street pressure, old grudges, and the weight of loyalty to people who are steadily disappearing behind bars. Big 30 has managed to stay free while much of his original circle has fallen, but that position comes with its own risks. Right now, he stands as one of the only founding members of Choppa gang still on the outside. Pooh Shiesty remains locked up, facing serious charges tied to shootings in Florida that could keep him behind bars for years. Lil Hank is dealing with attempted murder charges that paint an even darker picture, especially given the circumstances surrounding his case. Choppa gang, once feared and unified, is now fractured by prison walls and courtrooms. Despite all of that, Big 30 hasn't slowed down. Instead of retreating, he continues to speak loudly through his music and his presence, making it clear he's not interested in playing it safe. That attitude has kept his name buzzing, but it has also kept him surrounded by controversy. Every diss, every online exchange, every bold lyric adds another layer of attention, and not all of it is positive. What makes Big 30's situation even more complicated is that he's shown flashes of awareness. He understands the industry. He understands how quickly things can change. He's watched close friends lose everything. He's seen how fast momentum can turn into a downfall. And yet the pull of the streets, the need to defend his people, and the instinct to respond to disrespect still seem to guide many of his moves. Memphis has always been a city where raw energy fuels greatness. But that same energy has a history of cutting careers short. Big 30 represents that tension perfectly. His music resonates because it feels real, because it comes from lived experience. But that realism also ties him to the same cycles that have trapped so many before him. The question now isn't whether Big 30 has talent, it's already proven. The real question is whether he can separate himself from the chaos long enough to turn that talent into longevity. Whether he can learn from watching his closest friends face life-altering consequences. Whether he can choose discipline over reaction and focus over pride. As things stand, Big 30 remains active, vocal, and unapologetic. He's holding it down for his camp while others are locked up, but the cost of that role is high. The industry is watching. The streets are watching. And history suggests that Memphis docenti offer many second chances when the balance tips too far in one direction. For now, Big 30 is still here, still free, still making noise. What happens next will decide whether his story becomes one of escape and success, or another chapter in a long list of cautionary tales from the same city that made him.